Good morning. So it is early. It's not even 8 o'clock yet, which is very early for me, but I'm trying to bring my morning routine to fruition. So I thought I'd try and film a video. So we'll see how coherent I am. So today I'm going to be giving my recommendations. I say recommendations, I didn't get round to reading them like I hoped. So I'm going to do it more in the style of how Book Roast has recently done her recommendations, where it's more suggestions, more places to start. Just because these are books I found that fit the prompt. But I haven't read them, so I have no idea what I think of them. I just haven't had time with everything that's going on. So apologies, Lizzie, but I've got a good old stack, so we'll see how it goes. Right. I should tell you when the readathon is. It's the last week of August. It's like the 26th of August to the 2nd of September, which is when Rings of Power releases, which we're not affiliated with in any way. We're just excited. So yes, and check out the other hosts. I will put them all in the links below. This has been chaotic. I should have had more coffee first. So this is a recommendations video for MiddleEarthAthon for Team Hobbit and the prompt Second Breakfast, which needs something edible on the cover. So I've mostly got recommendations for things that do actually depict something edible on the cover, but if the title has like something foodie in the name or drinks in the name, that's also fine, don't worry. But as they tend to be easier to come across than ones that actually just have an image of something edible on the cover, I've mostly focused on those. I will mention a couple that I have loved, 4 ones that just have it in the name, but as I say, this is mostly going to focus on things that do have it on the cover, but both are fine. Okay, so to kick off, we've got one that is probably my weakest suggestion because I think it's like number 3 in a series, but I have a feeling you can probably read them standalone. That is The Village of 8 Graves by Seishi Yokomizo. I'm probably saying that very badly. I'm so terrible with names and I apologise. But it's a murder mystery set in Japan, around a small village where a guy has just received an inheritance, he's going to collect it, and then there's like all the suspicious activity going on and people dying, I believe. But that looks like tea on the cover because I think it's around poisonings. But that's all I know. But I picked that up in Waterstones last year, I think. It caught my eye, it looked intriguing. So I've got high hopes, but afterwards, in fact there's the Waterstones receipt, afterwards I found out it was actually part of a series. So that's probably my weakest suggestion. Next I have The Island of Missing Trees by Alif Shafak. So this is set sort of in Cyprus and the UK from what I can gather. It's set part of it sounds to be set during when Cyprus was like a very divided nation, and there's 2 people that meet sort of under a tree, and then you're looking more modern day with a child who, they've got a tree growing in the back garden that's kind of like one of the only links they've got to like their homeland. That's about all I know, so I assume it's like a family history based novel, but it's had very good ratings and it's a Sunday Times bestseller, shortlisted for the Costa Novel Award, so high hopes for that one as well. I have tried to include a good mix, so there's a bit of everything hopefully on here. Next I've got Georgia Peaches and Forbidden Fruit by J. Robin Brown. So this is a YA LGBTQ book. It's like a coming of age. I think it's set in school, yeah. So she's just moved school and there's a girl that she's very interested in, maybe the girl's interested in her sort of deal. Again, this is pretty much all I know about it, but I'm hoping I'm giving enough of the vibe for you to be like, oh, maybe that's something I'd like to look into. Next, and I do have 3 by the same author now, so I guess maybe apologies for that because it's maybe overkill, but they all sounded intriguing to me and they've all got food on the cover. So first up, I've got A Complicated Love Story Set in Space by Sean David Hutchinson. So this is also a YA LGBTQ book. Obviously it's a sci-fi, it's set in space, and it's like it sounds like it's a humorous space opera, but like romance. But it sounded quite fun and I want to read that at some point, even if I don't read it now. I will let you know what I'm reading. I think I'm probably going to go for 1 prompt, so it might be a very short video, but in a video closer when I have decided what I'm going to read. Next up, I have The Past and Other Things That Should Stay Buried by Sean David Hutchinson. I think this is the one that intrigued me the most. So they work at a mortician's and their best friend has died, but then seems to have come back to life. So very, very intrigued by that. It sounds like it's slightly Pushing Daisies-esque. So yeah, really looking forward to that because I used to love that show. I'm so sad that it got cancelled. It's quite an old show now. That's probably an obscure reference for some because, to be honest, I think I was probably a bit young to be watching it when I did. But yeah, it was great. And then I've got The Apocalypse of Elena Mendoza. I need to double check what this one was about. I did look, and I even filmed a video for this already. That was a few days ago and I can't find it. So now I've got to like re-remember. Oh yeah, so The Apocalypse of Elena Mendoza by Sean David Hutchinson. So this one, she seems to have odd occurrences keep happening around her, and she was a virgin birth and there's all this like kind of paranormal stuff kind of linked to her. So on the back it's got 16-year-old Elena Mendoza is the product of a virgin birth. This can be scientifically explained. It's called parthenogenesis. I'm bad at even words. But what can't be explained is how Elena is able to heal Freddie, the girl she's had a crush on for years, from a gunshot wound in a Starbucks parking lot. Or the boy who shot Freddie, David Coombs, disappeared from the same parking lot minutes later, getting sucked up into the clouds. What also can't be explained are that the talking girl on the front of the tampon box and the reasons that David Coombs shot Freddie in the first place. As more unbelievable things start to occur, Elena continues to perform miracles, and only remaining explanation is the least logical of all, that the world's actually coming to an end, and Elena is possibly one of the only ones that can do something about it. I can't read out loud, so I've added and changed words because they get muddled in my head. I don't think I'm dyslexic, but I am starting to wonder. But yeah, that also sounds just really fun and interesting. So I included 3 of them, just because, as I say, they've got different vibes. Next up is one that I've started. I've only read like 2 chapters of it, but I've been really enjoying it so far, and that is Woman Eating by Claire Coda. So this is, I think it was set in America, if I remember right. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've read much. But it's around a vampire who's trying to come to terms with like the demon inside her, and she's got dreams of being an artist. She's just left her mum for the first time, who sounds like she was maybe a bit controlling from what I'm picking up so far. And she just wants to kind of find acceptance. And it just sounds like an interesting, great read. I think it might give me slight vibes of My Year of Rest and Relaxation. I think I'm getting slight vibes of that. I don't think it's going to be quite the same at all. This is bad explaining. I have not drunk enough coffee yet. That, or I've drunk too much and it's hit me already. But yeah, I think it's going to be one of those slightly offbeat ones that is just nice to read, like fun. So I'm looking forward to finally finishing that one. So obviously that's not my TBR. Next up I have Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. So I thought I've got to sneak in a myth retelling because I've been loving them so much lately. I haven't actually been saying what's on there, but there's some little grapes on the cover. So this is a retelling of Ariadne, obviously, and her love between Theseus and I think, was there another one? But you've got like the backdrop of the Minotaur living beneath the palace. I haven't got to reading it yet, but it's one I'm very, very excited about. And again, I'm pretty sure I've been hearing good things about this one. It is one of the chunkier ones, but to be fair, the writing is quite big in my edition, so it should be okay for a week. Next, I have When Dimple Met Rishi by Sanja Menon. So this is one that's been on my radar for a while. I've talked to a few people who absolutely loved it. It's another sort of YA rom-com. I've got quite a few YA rom-coms, I think mostly because they tend to have coffee on the cover. And also because I don't know, in summer I always kind of want a rom-com, and this is taking place at the end of summer. So apologies that my mood reading tastes have kind of come into this a little bit. I think it has a show on Netflix now under a different name, but I can't remember the name. But I think it was arranged marriage almost. Like the parents are trying to set her up for something. I don't know if it is an arranged marriage. It doesn't explicitly say arranged marriage, but just the parents think he'll be a good fit. And I guess it's kind of like them getting to know each other a bit from what I get on the blurb. And I've heard great reviews from people that I trust. So very much looking forward to this, and I'm so sorry it's taken me so long. And then for a cosy mystery, I have Death and Croissants by Ian Moore. So this is the first in a series. I think it came out last year. So there's one of his guests who runs a B&B, as far as I can tell, in, was it France? The Loire Valley. Is that in France? My geography is terrible. But he runs B&B, one of the guests goes missing, and he doesn't really care until his hen also goes missing. So it's kind of got that kind of quirky vibe to it. But I also love cozy mystery in autumn, and considering we are going into autumn, I thought I needed to include one of those as well. So just one I'm really looking forward to, and it doesn't look too thick, so very much looking forward to that one. Then I had to sneak in with talking about romances, one of my favourite authors that I love over summer, and I haven't actually read one yet this year because I haven't read next to nothing over summer because it's just been such a weird time. I'm not going to go into that though. So I've included a Kathy Brambley because quite a few are food based, to be fair, because there's also like the Plumbury School of Comfort Food and the Lemon Tree Cafe, like there's quite a few. I've gone with Vintage Summer just because I haven't read it yet, and it's got wine on the front. That sounds bad, but no, just it's got something foodie on the cover. I can't remember if the others do because I own the others on my Kindle, which is also probably another reason why I went for this one, because I perused my bookshelves for a while. But most of them, I'm not sure about this one, with it being, well, it is an English summer, but I was going to say with it being wine, because England isn't as known for its wine. But most of them take place around a fictional village, so you kind of see all the other characters, and you follow each of their story, like a different person's story each time, but all the other ones sort of like dip their head in. I just love them. They're almost cozy. Like, I really enjoy them. So do recommend that as well. Then we've got one that has been on my TBR so many times, and I just always seem to be in a reading slump around the time that I'm like, I'm going to pick up that one. It's not the book's fault because I haven't started it, but I did get an excerpt of this one through Readers First. I did get an excerpt through Readers First, and I absolutely adored what I read of that. And that is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. So this is very food orientated. This is probably the one that probably fits the prompt the most. It follows a chef, or a woman who's aspiring to be a chef at the very least. I think she's at the very end of school or college, from what I can remember, and she's also got a very young family, so it's kind of like how she's gonna like make it into the world, I think, if I remember right. This was before it released, and it's been out a good few years now, so my memory's definitely hazy. And apparently I'm very bad for prep work, to be fair. So I've mostly done Bookstagram up to here, and my whole vibe's been, oh, I haven't done a photo, let's just get one together now. I'm not very organised. Hopefully that will come with time. Again, apologies, Lizzie. I hope this is okay. But this is one I'm definitely excited about. I say I adored the excerpt, so I don't know why I haven't got around to it yet. I never seem to find the right time. Maybe now will be the right time. But if I'm hoping to do all three in one, I have read something by Elizabeth Acevedo before, and one of the prompts is to read a new to you author. So I guess it won't be mine for this pick. I wish it could be. If I end up reading 3 books, it's going to be on there. But we'll see how my reading picks up before the end of August. But yeah, I'm very excited about this one. This is probably my strongest recommendation. Next we have one that I have actually read, and that is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. And it's a sort of magic realism time travel fiction set all around the same coffee shop. And the idea is that you can travel back in time for the length of time that it takes the coffee to go cold. And I really, really enjoyed it. It was originally a play, and you kind of do feel that in the writing still. But it was very good. I very much enjoyed it, and it's super short for anyone who is trying to cram 3 books in. But yeah, definitely recommend that one. Next is one I've also started and haven't finished, and it's a non-fiction. It is 3 Women by Lisa Tadio. It follows the lives of 3 women, mostly focusing on like their sexual lives. It has been interesting so far. I'm about a third of the way through. I struggle with non-fiction, but I knew I wanted to put some on here because I know not everyone struggles with non-fiction. It's got rave reviews on the back. I have seen some mixed reviews on Goodreads since I picked it up. Because again, I'm so good at research. But it could be the book for you, who knows? So I'm going to include it anyway. Because it is women's literature sort of thing, like it is following the lives of women. I've tried to keep it sort of women focused most of the time, just because I prefer that. I've also got a good few LGBTQ books in there and some BAME that probably could have been upped, but I've struggled finding books with something on the cover, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, so I haven't got much to say about this one so far because it's a non-fiction. There's not like a whole story to go along with it. It's just she studied 3 women, maybe more, but 3 is what she wrote about, and has documented it in a book. So yeah. And then I've also got Gingerbread by Helen Oyeyemi. I've probably said that badly again. This is a fantasy where it focuses on the role of sort of gingerbread, or is inspired by the role of gingerbread in a lot of children's fairy tales. And it's a fairy tale where the inheritance, it's a family legacy, and the inheritance is a recipe, which I assume is probably gingerbread. So I thought very food themed as well for the readathon. I don't know much more about it, but it just kind of intrigued me. Like, I love a fantasy and I love a fairy tale, so something kind of sounding a little bit more unique really interested me, and it's got very good reviews. Another one which I seem to have misplaced is The Sin Eater by Megan Campisi. So this is one I have also read, very much enjoyed. It's set in sort of an alternative Elizabethan, like Tudor England, and follows a girl who has been condemned to be a sin eater, who basically turn up at people who are dying at their houses or wherever they are. They'll confess their sins to them, and each sin's assigned a food that they then eat to absorb the sins. It was like this old-fashioned practice, and it was kind of like a slice of life, I feel like, and I quite enjoyed it, to be fair. But yeah, I think they're all the ones I've got with actual food on the cover. Some others that I recommend are behind me, in amongst all this. So we've got pumpkin heads, obviously, because like autumn. Just completely, and again we're going into autumn, so why not? It's a graphic novel if you want some quick. Do want to include one of those. Struggle with one with actual food on the cover because this doesn't, it's just got people. But pumpkins in the name, as I say, either's fine. And I really enjoyed this. I think I've read it a couple of times now. I think it's something I'm going to read every autumn. It's a very quick read, so yeah, do enjoy that one. If you want a challenge, there's Prairie of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I did adore that. I think I did actually manage to read it in a week, but I guess Samantha Shannon would have to be a new to you author for you to fit that in as one prompt. So, you know, if you want a challenge, there's that one. I've got one called... Oh, I've got some recommendations on here actually that I wrote down that I don't own. So let's quickly have a glance through those. So Ariadne done that. Okay, so I've also got recommendations of things that some of them do have food on the cover, some of them do not. But these are books that I don't own, so I haven't got anything to hold up to you. So I've got Rainbow Milk by Paul Mendez. It's a semi-autobiographical book about a black gay man who has to flee his home after being outed by members of the community. I've got Milk Fed by Melissa Broder. I think I've got it actually now. I think I've bought it since. But there's a woman who's like obsessed with her eating habits and all this. And as part of the recovery, she meets another woman, and it's about like their relationship as well. Again, please take me with a pinch of salt. I have put down like a few things about what I've found out about the genre of those. So actually, so Rainbow Milk was a coming of age. Milk Fed is a Bildungsroman, a romance, coming of age, and humour were the genres I found linked to those. I've then also got the Gunkull by Stephen Rowell, which is a domestic fiction, and it's there's a once famous gay sitcom star trying to bring happiness to his nieces and nephews' lives, so that just sounds like really fun. There's Romance in Marseille by Claude McKay, so it's a historical fiction. It is done by Penguin Classics, but it's only recently published because it's kind of sat unpublished for years. This is posthumously published. I've said published a lot now. But it follows the misadventures of La Fowler and their romance with a Moroccan sex worker. So, you know, sounds like a ball. But I do quite like a classic, so I thought that might give you one to throw in the mix. And then I've got Hola Pappy. I think it had a longer name, but it's kind of cut it off, by John Paul Beamer. It's a coming-of-age memoir in essays chronicling his journey from, and this is what I've taken from Goodreads. Why am I doing quotes? It's what I've taken from like Goodreads, but it's part of the like spiel of what it's about. So it's a memoir and essays chronicling his journey from a queer mixed-race kid in America's heartland to becoming the Chicano broad shore of his generation. Is that Chicano or Chicano? I don't know words. But yes. So there's another non-fiction. And then I've also got Boy Meets Boy by David Leviathan, which is a YA Bildungsroman romance. It follows the events of several high school students in an LGBTQ friendly small town. And the main plot is the romance between Paul and Noah. That's got some little love hearts on the cover, is what I've noted down. I think it's the only one I noted down. I've got Drinking Coffee Elsewhere by ZZ Packer, which is a collection of short stories, or is one of the short stories in the collection, but I'm pretty sure it's the collection. I've got another historical fiction that I've also got down as contemporary, so not quite sure where I'm going with that, but that's Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson, and it's how family has been shaped by the stories of matriarch, so I'm assuming it's one that kind of jumps around in time. I have Orange Boy by Patrice Lawrence, which is a YA urban thriller. There's like a teen that kind of gets unwittingly embroiled in the gangs of London. So like I think he had wider family that had been involved, and he'd like vowed never to on his mother's dying deathbed. And something happens on a date that kind of means that he does get embroiled in it all, and it kind of follows from there, is what I gather. I've got Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid, which is a coming-of-age domestic fiction, and there's a black woman is accused of kidnapping a white child, and it follows the events of that. And then I've got Remembered by Von Battle Felton, which is another historical fiction. It's set in 1910s America, and it's a recounting of the family history from 1843. That's the one I've seen. It has like wheat on the cover, so I've included that one. And then we've got We Cast a Shadow by Maurice Carlos Ruffin, which is a political dystopian satire. So that sounds like a ball. It's a story of a black lawyer in dystopian south of USA. To protect his son, he's trying to get an operation for him to turn him white. So it's like racism is back with a vengeance in that one, I think. So I think it'll be quite heavy. But again, that can be some people's jimmy jams. So there's a good bunch. I'm pretty sure I had some more recommendations that were only food in the titles, but they have completely left my mind at this point. But to be fair, they're easier to find, so I'm sure you'll have less struggle with those. But if you have any more recommendations, please leave them in the comments. I hope this helps a little bit, or at least gives you some ideas to kind of float around. Apologies that I can't truly recommend them, because as I say, I have just not had the time with everything that's happened. I've only just come back from a funeral. But like everything that kind of led up to that as well, I've been very out of it. So yeah, I hope it's been informative, or like giving you some suggestions to kind of get going. But yeah, I will do another video where I announce what my TBR will be. Let's say I have a feeling it's going to be just one book, so I might release it as a short, because I've seen that YouTube do those as well, so I might have a play around with those and see whether that's something I want to do. But yeah, so thank you very much if you've made it this far, because I have a feeling this will be quite long, even though I've mainly just done a rip wrap. There was quite a few books that I've covered. Say I've got them listed, if I can open it. I've got them listed on here with sort of like what genre they're in. I will probably put that on my Bookstagram. Just like take a screenshot of it so they're all listed in one place. But yeah, this will probably be the only recommendation video or suggestion video that I do, just because the other two prompts for Team Hobbit are a book that is recommended by, well, is endorsed by an author that you love, which I'm not going to lie, I'm finding a bit harder than I thought, but basically if you can find the author's read them, has given it a good rating. So like I found quite a few books on Goodreads where like an author I like, I will follow them and it tells me what they've rated that book if they've read it. So anything like that will count. And then also just the author needs to be new to you that you are picking up. So as a Hobbit, you also then have the power to read all 3 prompts at once. So remember, this prompt was something edible on the cover. So because it is only a week, that is probably what I'm going to go with, because I will be working during the week. So yeah, I just need to figure out which book I'm going to go with. I have a feeling I know which one I'm going to go with, but that might change in the interim. We'll see. But yes, thank you very much. If you've got this far, leave me a little something green. No, leave me something edible. Like a little emoji of something edible in the comments, just to let me know if you want. I've seen people do that, they're quite fun. And yeah, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.